Hi ladies and gentlemen, Dave Dobbs here. It's the 13th of, what are we now? The 13th of September 2018, and we are basically 4 days away from this point on the 17th where we most expect this kind of main line point on this 200-day timeline that I've been charting, where we expect it somewhere around this period to come into view. And ladies and gentlemen, I do believe it came into view on, I think it was on the 7th. And it came with earthquakes. It came with a 6.7 earthquake and subsequent earthquake, that was in Japan, and subsequent earthquakes in the Philippines. Also, we had this strange thing that we see in front of the sun when we have this type of thing close. And this thing seems to come up into view, and this kind of, Planet X Hunter got this shot of this thing, of this shield-like thing in front of the sun, as well as the main flyby, which I'm going to show you in one shake. So whatever this thing that goes up when something obfuscates the actual sun, this thing somehow powers up, or something happens, or maybe it's a massive shield that goes up and protects us when this thing flies by from the debris. All of this I don't know, but this thing that shows itself at the time of the flybys, or when something is up there which is being attempted to be screened off in some fashion, this thing seems to come up. Then we've got the actual flyby itself, put up by the hidden underbelly number 2, I guess it's his second channel. I don't know what's happening there, but he put it up. There was another person. I've been in contact with a few people and got their permissions, but I'm not actually too sure of who actually put the video up. But let me play that.
ꯑꯗꯨꯅꯦ ꯃꯊꯛ ꯅꯣꯡꯖꯥꯕꯤꯁꯤ ꯃꯊꯛꯁꯦ ꯀꯩꯅꯣꯝ ꯂꯩꯁꯤꯗꯤ
And now in the description from supposedly the person who actually took the footage on their phone, they said that they're suggesting they could actually see this black thing, whatever it is, moving. Now this is exactly what I'm expecting to see. It's exactly, if it was just a one-off, I could understand, but how many times do I have to do that, to do this? Except that, admittedly, we didn't see any tidal anomalies then. And remember, all we can do is calculate this, each part of this process as we're going along. You remember what happened last year, around about on the 17th, when we saw the big flyby over Brazil and the big flyby over Portugal, and then we go back to the 15th of August 2016, where we definitely saw the Blue Kachina around about the same time on the 14th of October, where we saw that massive sphere, we saw the massive plasma discharge. That was without any type of telescope, just from a webcam. I checked that webcam out myself after Jeff P had posted that, because I was already quite, the epic shot that Jeff P posted that really put him on the kind of Planet X map for me was the big shot on the 24th of December 2015, which was around about the time I'd made my first flyby prediction, when I'd started correlating all these dates. And he showed those 2 sunshots, and it was just an impossible shot to believe. But I questioned that shot. Even though I brought it into my videos, and I just had to watch Jeff P over and over and over again. And very many times I've gone onto his chat, gone onto the webcams which he mostly uses now, to get round that kind of problem. Oh, you photoshopped that or whatever else. But that is an epic Jeff P shot there on the 14th of October. And this shot here, let me just play you the whole bit here of Matt Rogers, or a bit of the whole bit.
You can see that now, guys. It's coming up to 11:15. It's the 15th of August 2016, and I'm actually viewing with my tripod, with my camera, this celestial object that's illuminating part of the sky. You can see it going down now. You can see that going down now. I'm on a hill. You can see that going down now. Fantastic shot. There's no denying it now, folks. There is no denying this now. No denying. To the right is lens flare. You don't get that with the moon. You can see that going down now, folks. Look at that. That is absolutely fantastic going down. Thank you for viewing, guys. Fantastic. Fantastic. It's time to believe now, guys.
And you can see that that's on the 15th, and it's just coming over the horizon there, and then going back down. So we've got this moving blue Kachina, and now we have to kind of, you know, we're having all this hype. Remember, I've just done a show with Steve. The last show I did, really, I think, was with Steve Olsen, and we were just talking about, you know, he's very much pushing, you know, he's very much of the idea that that this blue Kachina, whatever it is, and potentially the whole system, is out near, somewhere near where Terrell, who does the whole Black Star thing, is saying that it's somewhere near out Jupiter way. Let's say that, because I'm not absolutely total down on his specifics of where that is, but I'm getting the overall picture, and I'd really recommend following his timeline on things as much as Steve's and everyone's timelines here. But I don't need, in my opinion, because of so many of the fantastic shots that we've had of Planet X, like on the 16th of October, and many more. I'll throw a few epic shots up there just to like fill in that little gap, just so we get to grips with. I don't need to bring a black star into this. I've got more than enough evidence of a red dwarf planet coming through. We've charted it now for too long. We charted it. You know, Carlos Ferrada was predicting earthquakes in 1939. And was 4 hours out. You know, we've had Star Wars, we've had Dune, we've had The Fifth Element, we've had all the crazy kind of like, you know, Hollywood movies about it coming in. We've charted it for too long for that. It's coming. It's come over the top of the sun, and it's on its way back out again. I cannot go back to those old to viewing it from the perspective of back in the 80s and 90s. But that doesn't mean I am correct. That doesn't mean I'm correct. I am running a specific model that places Jupiter, that places this dwarf planet that everyone is calling Jupiter at the moment, in. I would. This would. Let's not get this confused. Actually, the dwarf planet, because what we're suggesting is that what we're seeing now is Jupiter. That's what everyone is talking. That's what the bigger scientific community at the moment are all discussing. They believe they're all discussing why Jupiter has gone blue. Why has it just suddenly appearing absolutely massive, where loads and loads of people are picking it up themselves with just normal kind of telescopes. The whole astronomical community is talking about it. All the discovery of all the new moons, and of course these, you know, that this is the Blue Kachina that everyone is seeing, and it has a moon which I have been referring to as Nibiru. And, you know, suddenly, you know, I'm hearing the kind of like the Thunderbolt project, which is kind of big backbone of the whole kind of like the electric universe theory and what have you. But I'm hearing them sort of like really kind of look at the whole thing, and the irony is that that in one of their videos where they're talking about why it's suddenly fired up, it's almost like I tell you what, I kind of liken the effects of what they're talking about, what they're trying to we would see it as a kind of like, we would see a process that was occurring, because technically it's got like 40 million times more atmospheric pressure than Earth. So technically, I mean, and this is the problem with having water on Jupiter, which it. Sorry about that. There was a phone call there. So the idea of well, let's just go to the brilliant kind of like, I think it's the Brilliant Light Company or something like that. They're supposedly creating dark matter. They're what they call dark matter, and you know, where all these different different people used scientific terms in different ways, I guess. But they're calling dark matter the idea of collapsing a hydrogen atom down, extracting all the sunlight out of it, effectively taking the energy out of it, and thus compacting it down to what they're calling a hydrino. Now I can imagine they're showing this kind of like this electromagnetic wave, this electromagnetic field that is running through the core, that is going to somehow kind of fire up the kind of like this process that is going to catalyze some kind of like I'm assuming hydrogen from the bright blue kind of sheen. How they're going to try and make this whole theory work. But what I found amazing about the diagram that shows the frequency of the electromagnetics is the irony. Is that what they're also giving you, whether this is just irony or whether he is secretly giving you this or whatever, but that is the exact orbital track of this system. And my model takes all of this and brings it into a singular motion as he is kind of defining, as he shows this kind of current model. And can you see that how, because the Blue Kachina doesn't just move around, doesn't orbit perfectly around the red Kachina or the dwarf planet, it causes that as it chases behind, it causes the dwarf planet to spiral, and the Blue Kachina has a bigger spiral. And this moon, it appears at this time to have such a massive orbital track. It has to be travelling in a conical form, as it would just collide with the red dwarf planet. So it has this. We're realizing that we have a massive conical track here. So we're realizing that this runs true with our solar system. It is exactly as Nassim Haramein has predicted. This could not be possible. Absolutely not be possible unless both systems were conical. Absolutely, without any doubt. Without any doubt. And so this has been concealed from us, because this gives our solar system motion, that it orbits something, and this is why it's been concealed to us, because it takes away from the fact that we are not the center of the universe. And that's why the Standard Model has, everything has been sitting on the Standard Model. And even people who show the kind of spiraling motion on the internet invariably show it, but it still incorporate the standard model into a spiraling motion to not kind of like upset the status quo. And you know, Galileo himself in about sort of like 1610, and you can imagine, you know, you had the sort of like you had 1588, which was when the Great Storm, when the entire Armada was scuttled by one massive storm, which to me is the inspiration of the Tempest. Shakespeare's works, much of that work is inspired because of this massive system. Now Galileo was observing like we are observing with telescopes. Jupiter, but of course he wasn't observing Jupiter. This was the last time the system came through. This is how big this big lie and deception that we're all in. This, ladies and gentlemen, the next phase of this is now to. All I can tell you now is that I can't predict much further than this without great help. And I've got to be honest with you, the help I need now is not so much astronomical help. It's graphics. It's animation and graphics. We need animators and graphics. And there's a lot of different people that have come my way and want to help me. And there's a lot of different people that could come on board now. But what I need now is financial assistance to make this happen, to take the next step. I'm running this on absolutely nothing, and I'd give you my absolute hand on my heart, I've absolutely run out of cash now. And for this to be taken seriously, it needs a cash injection. It needs a real cash injection. So I'm going to put a GoFundMe up, and it's going to be called, I guess, something on the lines of the Dobbs Model. It's the development of this Dobbs Model, and it is this kind of like, as you see this graph there, can you imagine that? If you see where my red, as the red planet, you can see in my basic model, and though this model is so crude, if you understood how logistically this was put together piece by piece in flash animations, working through no end of different shots to piece it together, and this was one of about 4 or 5 models, and this took me 3 months to piece together because there were so many different variables, and we had to charter our way through the most difficult path because it doesn't really move like this. It's a much more complex thing, and we need to look at this. The only way we're going to look at this is running bigger, kind of running charts, but running charts set through pathways that we can vary, and we can do this with basically more investment. It just needs a bit of a cash injection now, and it also needs to come together for an event that we can start come together. Right now, ironically, I'm actually literally sitting in this little tiny auditorium. I'll just swing the camera around there, and I'm actually in this auditorium, which is the Irish Bar, which is, I don't know if I'm doing this any justice at all, but I'm swinging it around, and I'll bring it back down, and I'll just stand over here before it's the kind of the Irish Bar, the kind of like it's right at the back of the Glastonbury site, in this kind of like what would you call it? There's kind of a Greek name for them, amphitheatre, something like that. But it's anyway, I'll turn that back round again now. But it's right, it's dug out. It's a dug out thing. But anyway, I don't know if you can still see me there. Maybe I need to twist that up a bit now. But an event where we can bring people together like this little venue does, and this is actually one of Michael Eavis's favourite events. Favourite little venues you come to where everything is closed down and it's very difficult to know there's something going on because effectively it's underground, really. And what we need to do is I need assistance now to upgrade this and to give this a better profile, because as we come into this now, you can see that we're gonna, when we come closest to the dust, when we come closest to the red dust, and we're very close to it now. Now, I truly don't know whether who's closer to the sun, whether we're closer to the sun or whether that's closer to the sun at the moment, because if you can picture, at the moment it seems like the Blue Kachina, from our perspective, as we understand in the standard model, as you like, it's looking like the Blue Kachina is on the far side of the sun to us. But like I say, on the 14th of October, it looked like 2016. It looked like it was on this side. On the October side, we saw the massive arc, which gives it roundabout. If we were just to assume that gives it, by those simple maths, it gives it about a 3-year rotation, or a faster rotation than that. But that's doubtful, being that size. And could you have oceans on it? There's all these crazy questions that we've just got to pour. I've got to pour a lot more time and effort into a more advanced timeline now, positioning this thing, because I'm of a mind that we're going to get this red dust, and then we're going to be in close proximity to the dwarf planet itself, which is where we see the biggest shift in our axis, like we did last year. And that's the point where our North Pole gets it's more that it seems that potentially our South Pole is getting pulled closer to it, which is plunging our North Pole further away from the sun and further into the cold, and therefore we get parts of the globe that dip into these whether it sways like that. It literally could be a rock like this. No one really knows how or why, but we saw what happened in Boston. It went under the ocean. It got freezing cold. So all we've got to do now is we are going to be basing this calculation on. We're going to be basing this kind of calculation of this kind of the alignments of this dwarf planet and this Blue Kachina, and how they align directly or indirectly with the sun to create this dynamic that we can actually start working exactly. For example, when we come when we actually come to this dust point, the closest dust point that we're going to come to, that will be the 12 o'clock position that I've been observing. That will be the point that this twin-tail object, Nibiru, whatever you want to call it, that's where it will have been at the 17th of September, when we get to the dust point. So although we haven't got to the 17th of this point, we might not be at the same point. I'm not suggesting for a moment that we will be at the same point, but I'm imagining that when we ourselves get to that kind of point of most dust, that will be, and whether that happens on the 17th or whether that happens a month later, whether we can go a month and a half later, whether this thing is going to sweep up immediately, because it doesn't fly. I've got it in my model. It doesn't work like that with the Blue Kachina. It's a much, much more advanced cycle, and it's going to take a lot of effort. And if we can get this cycle down, and we can help people understand that this thing is happening, and this isn't the Russians attacking us. We don't have to use this as a mechanism to drive World War III and to try and persuade people that this is some kind of alien attack. This is our proximity to the tail on this side of the dwarf planet. Like I say, if I can get more funding, I can literally run the correlations through animations, and we can charter to the hour. We can become like Carlos Ferrada now with this, with the right investment. Surely I've proved to you now, whether you can see this. This was over India, this sighting. It is exactly what we're expecting to see. I cannot do any better than this. Okay, I'm 10 days out, but you understand, we are so much closer. We are We are only going to find out. We're just going to find out. We're going to find out over this next period, and we have the dust coming in quick and fast. You're going to see it coming down now, and it's going to get you reach a point of more intensity, and then we have from here on in a whole load of new flybys and information that I cannot give you without more funding. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for following me up to as far as we've got here. Now now we have to number crunch this. Now we've got so much data, and every bit of data comes in from here on in. We've got to number crunch this. We've got to go through each flyby bit by bit and run it all into a new correlation, a new timeline. We're challenging the entire model of the standard model here. This is like a leap in human consciousness.